Hi everybody. We are going to crank out another video today. Um, when I'm at the camper, I love it because I can focus for several hours and just listen to him and pray for you and pray for the word that we're going to learn. So I'm gonna make a video today. I can't believe how far we've come. It seems like we just started this. We started this June 1st, but I already feel like we have such a bond and that this is very special moments during the day when I can sit with you and we can share something as unbelievable as Jesus together. Oh, I so hope you are falling in love with his word. All right, today's I am statement is, I am not alone. I think that many of us, this might be something all of us at one point or another have felt. And for him to say to us, for God to say to us, you are not alone. And we're going to see how many times he repeats that. Okay? Well, let's pray. Jesus, oh, please help us be excited. Oh, let us be so excited. Amen. Sorry, I like to pray a bit, and I feel like we're touching on a rough subject here, one that might trigger some things for us. We're going to look at a few verses, but we're going to spend most of our time in the Old Testament because this is another one of those scenarios where what is in the Old Testament is being quoted in various other parts of the body. So we're going to have to look at the original text and the ones where they've been quoted as well. So we are going to start in Hebrews. Hebrews was not the first place it's recorded. I can tell you that right now. But because it's the New Testament, we get this beautiful view of this idea. Goodness sakes, my Bible is so jam-packed full right now because I have so many marked. Okay, we're going to be in Hebrews, and we are going to be in chapter 13, verse 5. Now, we're not going to be here long. The only reason we're looking at this first is so that you understand that this quotation of God spans the gap of time, spans the generations of time. It was all the way back at the beginning with Moses, very beginning, and it's quoted all of those thousands years later in the New Testament. So that brings such continuity, such credibility. So we're going to look at the New Testament one first and then go backwards. Chapter 13, verse 5 of Hebrew. Let your character be free from the love of money, being content with what you have. For he himself has said, I will never desert you, nor will I ever forsake you. Now, I'm pretty sure you have probably heard that he'll never leave us or forsake us. That we sing hymns about that. There's lots of things that we study about that. But what I want us to notice is how oddly it is paired with the other words in this verse. They don't seem to go together. The book of Proverbs is really the only place that has that discombobulated feel, where you're talking about something, then you're talking about something else. Not in Hebrews. Hebrews is one of those books that's very consistent, very credible. But for some reason, he throws in this crazy statement. He says in verse 5, all of this is happening in one verse. Let your character be free from the love of money, being content with what you have. We talked about not loving money. We talked about that at great length, and hopefully you did the extra work on that too. So we understand that this first part, it is essential. It is essential in finding contentment to not love money. If you want to feel content, then you can't love money. You can see the value of it. You can save for it. You can be wise with it. But it is not something that you can put so much emphasis, because then you can't feel content. So that's the first part of verse 5. Covered that already. It's great. But how in the world does that couple up with, comma, it's not even a new sentence. For he himself, both capitals, has said, I, capital meaning God, will never desert you, nor will I forsake you. I think it's odd that the writer of Hebrews uses that sentence to quote one of the beautiful promises that God gave in the Old Testament. In your homework today, go to Facebook, go to Jot and Tittle, and I want you to get your work, and I want you to look at it, and I want you to look at this verse, and I want you to just brainstorm. See why, how. What could the writer of Hebrews been thinking when he put those sentences together? And see if you can come up with any ideas, okay? If you can't, that's okay. You're allowed to text me and we can go a little further and I can give you a couple more hints. All right, so we're going to come out of there, but I wanted you to see that New Testament is quoting, I will never desert you, nor will I forsake you. Now let's go all the way back to Deuteronomy. And it's all the way back. And we are going to start with Deuteronomy chapter 31. This is the one that was hard for me to study. This was the one that was really hard for me to read, because I have been in this position before. I'm sorry, guys. I'm so thirsty. I think that you might be able to identify. I know I sure did. And I had to take a couple moments with God and really talk to him about it. So you'll have time to do that with your extra work. All right, we are at Deuteronomy chapter 31. And we are going to cover verses 6 to 8. Ready? Be strong. Be courageous. Do not be afraid or tremble at them. For the Lord your God is the one who goes with you. He will not fail you or forsake you. Then Moses called to Joshua and said to him in the sight of all Israel, Be strong and courageous, for you shall go with this people into the land which the Lord has sworn to their fathers to give them, and you shall give it to them as an inheritance. The Lord is the one who goes ahead of you. He will be with you. He will not fail you or forsake you. Do not fear or be dismayed. Can you see the original quote? So don't be afraid. I am with you. I will not forsake you. Now, what's different about this passage right here? The other passage we looked at, we saw how loving money can come to some ill gains, to the point where Jesus had to remind them, you got to rely on me. I will never forsake you. Okay? Actually, let's just take a minute to think about what that word means. I just looked it up in a regular dictionary, and it means to desert, to abandon, and to leave helpless. Okay? So although our thing is I am not alone, it doesn't say I am not lonely. There's a difference. Feeling lonely is an emotion. Not being alone is a noun. Okay? You're not left in those states of hopelessness. Now, you may not get company, you may not get another person, which might be able to cure the feeling of lonely, but alone, feeling alone, there's no need for it, because God is trying to remind us. Doesn't matter where you're at, doesn't matter what you're up against, it doesn't matter. Your wealth, your health, your war, your profit, your gain, none of that compares to me never leaving you. Okay, so let's realize we're not talking about an emotion. We're not. Okay. So we're going to let's look at the beginning of chapter 31 to see what's going on. So Moses went and spoke these words to all Israel. When it says to all Israel, and he spoke them, that's actually what's happening. And remember, how many Israelites was there estimated to be at this time? About 1 million. And he said to them, I am 120 years old today, and I am no longer able to come and go. And the Lord has said to me, you shall not cross the garden. The next verses go on to say that he has to pass the mantle, and that Joshua has been called to be the next one. So he's having this contact and this conversation with Joshua while talking to the multitudes. Now, as I read this over and over and over, it began to kind of settle with me what God is saying. He's telling them what they're going to face. We're going to study I am strong and courageous later on, and we'll look at those verses where be strong and of good courage, because it's important, and we get to be called, be strong and be courageous. But this in particular, we are looking at the quote, we're looking at the actual God saying, I will never leave you or forsake you. And the circumstances here is that they are surrounded by 1 million people. Why in the world would he talk about never being left alone? There's 1 million other people there. They know that they're not alone. Or do they? Have you ever been in such a place in your life that you felt alone? Not lonely, that you have felt alone, but yet you've been in a crowd of people. People have talked to me about this a lot as a therapist and as a pastor. Sometimes they can go to church, go all the functions they want, and they express to me, I just feel alone. Alone is the absence of another person. That's what alone is. There's an absence of another person. It's just you. So I love that in this portion of scripture, God comes down and says, guys, I'm talking to all of you at once. And I'm also talking to Joshua in your presence, so that you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that whether there's 1 million of you or whether there's just one, God is not going to let you be alone. Not even when you're in a crowd. You are not going to have to experience being alone. Now, my husband brought me up to the camper for 2 weeks straight because I was too weak to just do what I needed to do at home. And when that happens, it gets pretty isolating. It gets to feel like, do I ever get to go home? Do I ever get to be with my family? Everything's going to pick up. And you just get this sense of just isolation. And that is what God is trying to talk to the Israelites about. You're not isolated. You're mine. I am never going to leave your side. Have you ever said, oh my gosh, where is God in all of this? I've had to answer that question so many times. People think that pastors and therapists know everything. We don't know any more than you do. I can't explain why some of those times You just feel alone. Even when we have this knowledge that we're not. There is no difference in believing that Christ rose from the dead than there is in believing God is with us. It doesn't require any more faith to know that you are chosen by God than it is to believe He's not going to leave us. But why is that such a concept that we can't seem to get through our head? It seems like we always resort back to, I'm so alone, I'm so alone, I'm so alone. I have one sweet friend, her name is Cheryl, and she doesn't get to go out much. And she will text me and she'll talk about how lonely she feels. And I have to remind her, you are not alone. You are not left there to be helpless and hopeless. That is a promise. And if we have enough faith to believe that Jesus died for us, then we have plenty of faith to believe that God is never, ever, ever going to forsake us, leave us, abandon us. Okay? Let's turn over to, oh, this is fun. Let's go to Joshua. We just turn the page a little bit. After that scenario with Moses, he does die. And it's not sad. It's kind of cool the way God takes him. But what we're going to look at right now is Joshua chapter 1. Now, Moses is dead, and Joshua has been asked to be the next leader. That is a lot of pressure to put on one person. To say, this man was so powerful he could part the Red Sea. This man was so powerful he took 1 million people out of Egypt. This man is so crazy. I mean, he wasn't even lifelike. It was almost like Moses was superhero because he was able to accomplish things. But that was God's spirit on him. So I can't even imagine what Joshua is feeling taking over and saying, okay, I'm ready. Let's look at verse. Let's start at verse 15. So, let's start there so we don't have to read the whole thing. We're going to do Joshua chapter 1, verse 15. Until the Lord gives your brothers rest, as he gives you, and they also possess the land which the Lord your God is giving them. Then you shall return to your own land and possess that which Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave you beyond the Jordan towards the sunrise. And they answered Joshua, saying, all that you have commanded us to do, we will. And wherever you send us, we will go. Just as we obeyed Moses in all things, so we will obey you. Only may the Lord your God be with you as he was with Moses. It's hard to think about that process of transferring one thing to another. Joshua is trying to help them understand. We went to verse 15 first so that you could see. He's trying to help them understand how important it is. And the people are trying to help him understand that they're willing to transfer their submission to him. Now let's go to verse 5 and see what happens before Joshua is able to give such a bold speech in verse 15. Now it came about after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord, that the Lord spoke to Joshua, the son of Nun, Moses' servant, saying, okay, I need you to understand this, in order for Joshua to be able to say with the confidence that he did in verse 15, this private conversation had to happen first. And this is first person, God speaking one-on-one to Joshua. Moses, my servant, is dead. Now therefore arise, cross this Jordan, and you and all this people, to the land which I am giving to them, to the sons of Israel. Every place on which the sole of your feet treads, I have given to you, just as I spoke to Moses. From the wilderness and this Lebanon, even as far as the great river, the river Euphrates, all the land of the Hittites, and as far as the great sea, toward the setting of the sun, will be your territory. No man will be able to stand before you all the days of your life. Just as I have been with Moses, I will be with you. I will not fail you or forsake you. That beautiful conversation that God had with Joshua, saying, dude, I get your fear. Moses was a mighty man. I need you to understand, before you turn around and you go face those people, before you even think about leading them across the Jordan, I need you to understand, Joshua, I am with you. I am not going to abandon you. I'm going to stay by your side. Now, the one thing that I think would make people a lot happier is if, when he says he'll be with us, that he would show himself to us, that we can see him. My friend Cheryl is talking about, she just wants him to hug her. She just wants to feel his presence. And so this is a hard concept, because we are trusting that God is not going to forsake us and that he's always with us invisibly. We have to trust the invisible. And again, here's where you either buy the whole smorgasbord in the Bible, or you don't get none of it. And according to what he's trying to say to Joshua is, you've got me. You may not see me, but you've got me. And Joshua was able to turn around and say to the people, I've got you. I'm going to lead you. I'm going to take care of you. Guys, did you see how God's saying that his very presence is going to be always with Joshua, and that is going to help him conquer anything in life? When you feel alone, you don't really get motivated to do much of anything. Being alone can lead to loneliness. Being alone can lead to a lot of things. Depression, anxiety. It can lead to a lot of things. But God is sharing with Joshua, he doesn't have to worry about doing all this huge job alone, because God is always going to be there. He's not going to forsake him. He's not going to leave him. We're going to quick look at one more verse in Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 4. Come on, Jack. I'm sorry, Isaiah chapter 41. I knew 4 wasn't right. And we're going to look at verses 8 through 10. But you, Israel, my servant, Jacob, whom I have chosen, descendant of Abraham, my friend, who is speaking? Do you get the idea of who's speaking? It's God. This is directly out of God's mouth. It's so fun when you see how God speaks in first person to us. I love it. You who I have taken from the ends of the earth and called from its remotest parts, and said to you, you are my servant. I have chosen you. I have not rejected you. Do not fear, for I am with you. Are you seeing how many times that God is making sure that his kids know he is not going to leave them? What's different about this passage is he says, do not fear, for I am with you. You know, in the first passage, we saw that the love of money is somehow connected, that money can't be our companion. Only God can be. With loving money, you're still absence of a person. You've got your things, you've got your money, but Jesus says, no, I need you to trade that in, and I want you to want me, because that's who you've got. And so then we went to Deuteronomy and we saw, holy cow, that's a lot. Now we look here at Isaiah. You know, Moses and Joshua had this mask job that they had to do in front of them. And so they came with that, and God's response was, no, no, no. You may be surrounded by millions, but you're not alone, because I'm with you. He says to Joshua, you may have the hardest job in the world, but you're not alone. I am with you. And in this passage, it says, do not fear, for I will be with you. It's funny because fear and loneliness are often put together. I don't know why, they just seem to pair well together. But you see a lot of fear involved in loneliness. I don't know if it's because you have too much time to think and you think of a whole bunch of scary stuff. I don't know. But they seem to be in conjunction. So here in this beautiful spot, it tells us, don't even fear. Don't fear. There isn't an absence of someone there. I'm there. I was scared of the dark for so long. Oh my goodness. I had nightmares like crazy. And Jesus really helped me understand this concept of it's okay. You're not dreaming this by yourself. You're not having this anxiety by yourself. There's no need to be afraid. You are not void of another person. I'm right here. I love to watch my 2-year-old grandson. I think you got to meet him. Milo, he was in my study that day. I think you got to meet him. Well, we have a really teeny pool in the backyard, and he loves it. And he's not real super afraid of it, unless he can't touch something. If he can't touch the sides and he can't touch his feet somewhere, then he gets really frustrated. And it's funny because all I have to say to him to calm his fear is, it's okay, I'm right here. I'm right here. Yaya's not leaving you. I'm right here. And it's not just when he's in the pool. Actually, he does it all the time. Milo, Yaya's not leaving you. I'm right here. I'm right here. I'm not leaving. And that resonates with me, how sometimes I need the Lord to remind me. It's okay, Jack. It's okay. I see what's going on. I'm right here. It's okay. I've got you. It's okay. So that would be the beauty in this I am statement. I am not alone. I don't have a void of companionship because Jesus, God himself, said, I'm not going to leave you. I'm not going to abandon you. I'm not going to desert you. I'm not going to leave you helpless. And those are beautiful things. So have fun today in recognizing you're not alone. All right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow.